Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
We're just about to go live. We'll see you in just a minute with use of labels in non-monogamy. What's right for me? Okay. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Yeah,
Hi, good. How are you?
Good.
We're actually in the same space for a change.
So we are.
Well, good morning, everyone. We're here with Mondays with Tara and André. It's Monday at 11 a.m., so that's when we do this. So today's topic is the use of labels in non-monogamy. What's right for me? So we'll jump into that in a minute, but would love to know if you're joining us live or in the replay, and to just drop us a thumbs up or a yes if you can hear us okay, and that would be great. Woohoo!
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we can just jump in, and hopefully someone will say they can hear us. So, right.
Yeah.
So I'm Tara Lynn Franco. I'm a relationship and awesomeness coach.
And I'm André Turcotte. I am a sex-positive psychotherapist.
Awesome. And we are the co-founders of Let's Talk Polyamory and our group program, Open Relationship and Polyamory Mastery.
Yeah.
So every week, we're here live. Sometimes we replay a goodie, oldie but a goodie, but we do a live training conversation about topics around polyamory, non-monogamy, open relationships, and help people navigate them. So this is where you'll find us every week. And we always post the replay in the group. So if you're joining us in our Let's Talk Polyamory private group, you can find a ton of them there. I think there's almost like 100 there now. There's a lot of them, yeah. So yeah,
A lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. So, are you okay?
Yeah. What makes you ask?
It's just, is it weird that we're in the same spot? Because we're used to facing each other on the screen.
Well, we do both. We go both ways.
We go both ways. Okay. So we'd love to hear from you. Do you identify with a particular style of non-monogamy or a particular label?
Yeah. Interesting, right? Because I think a lot of people don't like using labels, and yet very often we want to know how the other person identifies, or when they do offer a label, saying that I'm conservative or I'm liberal, whatever it is, how does it make us feel, and what is our understanding of it? So it's interesting topic.
Yeah, labels are interesting. I think, it's the definition thing, because people always have a different definition.
Well, most often. It's often. They do,
often, yes.
That's why we always say communicate, right? Find out, what's my understanding of it? What's your understanding of it?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you remember? Okay.
What do I remember?
It seemed like you're going to say something about when somebody might have used the label, or when you were using a label. But it's like I'm thinking of I
forgot what I was going to say.
Like on dating profiles, for example, right? A lot of people will say, well, I'm lesbian, I'm queer, I'm bi-curious, whatever it is. And they may have their own idea of what it is, but what's my understanding of it, what it means for them to say that, right? So if I say, for example, bisexual, right? Well, does it mean that I feel as though I have two sexualities? I'm bi, both male and female, or does it mean that I relate to other people, that I'm attracted to male and female, right? So my use of bisexual might be different or open to different interpretations than the other person's, right? But it's the idea that we might both want and benefit, appreciate labels, and also resist them, right? Like maybe I don't want to be called this, and how they might even change over time. Last night we were with good friends of ours, and they were talking about they've been in a relationship for a few years now, and they said, well, in the beginning, some of their talk was like he might call her
whore.
A whore. And
she liked it.
She loved it. It wasn't derogatory in any way, or maybe it was derogatory, and she appreciated that. And she would refer to him as daddy. And then over time, maybe it's not as common used by them. And what's changed and what's gone into it, but also how did we feel about first being called a whore, and how do we feel about it now? And it's interesting because also, depending on the venue, if you were to bring that person home for Thanksgiving dinner, do you say, well, this is my whore and that's my daddy? So the company that you keep also might influence that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we get closer, a little bit further on. But today we thought we would talk about what does it mean to be polyamorous, a little bit about what style of non-monogamy is right for me, just very brief because we've done a couple trainings on this, and what label do I want? And then, like you said, what do you want people to call yourself? What do you want to be referred to? Even your style of relating, people have different views of that, like you said. So,
well, even polyamorous, right? So I might say to many people, I might say, well, I'm poly. And for me, it might mean a whole bunch of different things. So there's poly, polyam, and polyamorous. And, you know, depending on who I'm speaking to, I have friends that I think are poly, and they're like, well, no, I'm not a poly person at all. We're more like swingers. And other people say, oh, no, we're not swingers. We're really invested in these different emotional relationships. But there are, it seems to be some kind of umbrella terms like being poly, like being polyam, or even polyamorous that might incorporate ethically open relating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So because we're not going to go into the details of the styles of non-monogamy, we're going to today.
But we have.
We're sharing our worksheet, what style of non-monogamy is right for me, which has the different styles of relationships as well as questions you can ask yourself to figure them out. So if you want the worksheet, make sure you drop worksheet in the comments and we'll send you the link. We'll also post the link a little bit later after we finish the broadcast as well, so you can get it. So let's jump in.
Worksheet's the word for today.
Worksheet is the word. I know, not very creative.
No, but Groucho Marx used to have that word that would drop down. It's like, anybody remember Groucho Marx? No, it's going back to the 1600s. Anyway,
okay.
They would have the word of the day that would pop down, and then when you would say it in conversation, you'd get it.
Oh, okay. Okay, awesome. So let's just start with a general definition, just because, you know, just to create a baseline. So consensual non-monogamy. Like I see consensual non-monogamy as kind of the umbrella term that all the other styles that are not monogamous sort of fall under. So consensual non-monogamy being when you have romantic relationships, multiple romantic relationships where partners consent to having multiple romantic and or intimate encounters with other consenting partners. That was a terrible definition.
I think it's okay. I think you got the crux of it. So would you say that pretty much being consensually non-monogamous, CNM, and ENM, ethically non-monogamous, are they kind of interchangeable? Are they kind of like encompassing the whole spectrum of it?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I think people use ethical non-monogamy or ENM. I like consensual non-monogamy because the idea that it's consensual.
But isn't that where the ethics come in?
It's true, but I think I like it right in the word. I like CNM, but you will hear them used like ethical non-monogamy, which means that you're being non-monogamous, but doing it in an ethical and open way. So both of them would be in that case.
So our friends that we might consider to be poly, who self-identify as not being polyamorous, but being swingers, they are doing that in an ethical way. They're both on board with it. They're both consenting to it. So they are CNM.
Yeah, CNM or ENM, yeah.
But being polyamorous, having deeper emotional connections, perhaps, that would be polyamorous, but that would also be CNM or ENM.
Yes. Yeah. So they all kind of fall under them. So let's just show really quickly our favorite diagram. This is, well, it's an altered version of it. This is from Jessica Fern's book, Polysecure, adapted. And adapted. Yeah. So basically what I like about this diagram, I guess what we like about this diagram, is it kind of puts the different styles of consensual non-monogamy into quadrants. So from high to low sexual exclusivity and high to low emotional exclusivity. And the reason we have these fun little circles and arrows is often, not always, but often when people open up an existing relationship, a monogamous relationship, they may take the path that's sort of outlined here from monogamy, which is where you're high sexual exclusivity and high emotional exclusivity, to swinging, which is where you have more sexual partners, to open relationship.
With low emotional.
Yeah, but with a low emotional, you still have high emotional exclusivity with your single partner, and then into open relationship, open marriage, which is getting closer to the side of, and then you flip over to the other side where polyamory, friends with benefits, and relationship anarchy are. And I think what's interesting about this sort of transition, and if anyone's in this transition, like, let us know. I think the hardest part people find is jumping over that middle line from open relationship into polyamory, because now you're going into having multiple relationships, but
having higher emotional
investment.
Changing them, yeah.
And even swinging to open relationship, I think,
Sure.
is hard too, because that's when you may have partnerships outside your existing ones. So
it's hardest when we're not having the dialogue. But when we speak about these things and what we imagine they're going to be like and what we can anticipate, it really does kind of put light on it and kind of takes away any unknowns, or tries to take away any unknowns simply by having a conversation about it. It sheds light on the unknown. And for many people, the unknown is the scariest part. But it's interesting, though, to see that diagram and how in monogamy, we often speak about the relationship escalator, right? We are single, and then we start to date somebody, we start going steady, and then we start being boyfriend, girlfriend, and then we start maybe moving in together, we get engaged, and there is this trajectory of the relationship escalator. And opening up our relationships in polyam, it seems like there is that kind of path as well, that it will go from one way, like as ours, and many of our friends have also announced a similar thing, is we might start off in a sort of closed relationship and then say, well, let's entertain the idea of having a threesome. And then from the threesome, we say, well, we might go to a swingers party or a club or something, and then that's a little bit more in the swinging part. And then we might say, well, let's do it with a couple. And then we tend to develop kind of feelings to them. It might feel as though it's in some ways safer to have that higher level of emotional exchange, and then we go from there. And it's like we get in that kind of relationship escalator as well, but in a kind of different direction.
In a different way, a more open and experiential way, maybe.
In some ways, perhaps.
In some ways, yeah.
But monogamists have their own experiences as well.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
No knocking that.
And not everybody follows this path, right? Some people stay in just being monogamish or swinging, and that's cool too. The trick is to figure out what is right for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look at the one couple that I'm thinking of, the ones who announce themselves as swingers and prefer not to be labeling themselves as polyamorous. They've been swinging like this for about 10 years, right? So they did not simply follow that path. And there's nothing saying that we must automatically. It's whatever works for us. But again, let's have the open communication about what's working for us and what our preferences are, so we can feel good about doing it and not feel insecure about it or resentful about it or any of those things, because those are not good ways to have a relationship.
Yeah, and I think within those styles as well, there's different desires in terms of how open you are public, like how out you are publicly. That's a whole other thing as well. So none of those styles particularly say you're out about it. You can be polyamorous and be very closeted about it, which is why this discussion today about labels is interesting when we get to that part, because you may not be introducing people to people depending on it. But
sure. Do we have enough time for me to get on my soapbox real quickly? No, I'm going to do it anyway. So last night we were watching a recorded film, and then at the end of the film there was a little bit that was staying on for whatever reason, and maybe it was just coincidence, but the recording stopped exactly when the person was shot. There was the gunshot, and then the person was falling from the horse as if they had been shot. And I found it so interesting that we both automatically went to the next thing, but in our psyche, that violence was unchecked. There was no question to be up in arms about it. Interesting, up in arms about it. But had that been a different story where there had been full frontal nudity, my God, could you imagine what people would have said? Like, how could you possibly show that? So in other words,
it wouldn't even been on TV.
It would not have been on TV.
Regular TV.
But gun and war are never edited. But the word sex is edited. The idea of nudity is edited. And that's the most dangerous thing. And for many people, announcing themselves as boyfriend, girlfriend, fiancé, married, whatever, no problem. Saying that I have more than one love is not something that they want to announce, and that's fine. There's no judgment to that. Yeah. But it's interesting how as a society, how we in our psyche have allowed for certain expressions to be acceptable and others to be immoral. So when we were on the naked bike ride, I went through the streets nude, and I was called out from people on the sidewalk as being disgusting. And my human form, which they believe is made in the image of their God, was somehow disgusting. But the use of war, gun, shooting, all this violence, that's not protested, and that is the most perverse thing of all.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough about that. And don't forget to bring up conversations about STI testing and get tested. But anyway.
Second soapbox. Okay. So
hey, it's a platform to have these discussions.
Oh, for sure. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe in, like you said, I think it's okay if you don't feel like you feel comfortable with being out.
Nobody has to make
it's fine. Nobody has to decide that for you.
No,
so
absolutely.
It's up to you. If you do want to though, then like let us, if you're having trouble with that, let us know, because we both went through our own journeys about that.
Sure.
And we can support you in planning those conversations.
Yeah, going over some of those rough spots.
Yeah.
But on that note, really, because it is consensual, we resist ever consenting for other people, right? We don't want to announce for them. We let them announce for themselves. And that's very important.
And for some people, it can be hard if they're out and they want to have their partner come to family events, but they're not out. You know what I mean? It can be something. So this is why knowing what you want, but also knowing, consenting to these kinds of things with your partners, and finding partners who are sort of potentially on the same path as you can be important. It depends.
Yeah, but they can be on the same path with like from vastly different backgrounds and stuff. And it might be like, it's difficult for me to come out to my family. Well, it's easy for me to come out to yours. But it is so interesting how even those use of labels, right? So, it's Thanksgiving, for example, or whatever. There's some family event or business event, and we come out, and do we say like, this is my girlfriend? So if we're in a polyamorous relationship and you say that I'm your girlfriend, I'm like, whoa, that sounds a bit like, a very monogamous kind of approach to it. If I'm a relationship anarchist, I might not appreciate that. Or does it make me feel comforted? And I say, wow, like, I'm considered their partner, and that makes me feel warm and fuzzy. So it's interesting to see how those labels would be, and how do we announce them to the people that we're coming to? So do I say to my business associates or to my partners, well, I'm in an open relationship, and this is how we talk to each other, and this is, I'm known as their daddy, and they're my little girl, and, whatever the case may be. Or do we resist it? It's food for thought.
It is food for thought, but I think it's, for some people in relationships, it's hard when you say you're dating someone and they're in you're joining a couple, for example, and you're a solo person, and there's family events, and you want to be included, but they're not out to their family. It can cause some issues with people. So those are important things to have discussions with your partners in advance, which is why some of this comes into play. But if you don't know what style is right for you, don't forget, get our worksheet. It's like drop worksheet, and we'll drop the link in here, because we do have 5 questions you can ask yourself, and that's super helpful.
It sure is.
So let's jump into what do labels mean, and why are they important? Because like you said, for some people it's important to be able to have a label, and for others it's not. So
yeah, well, some of the labels we wear with a lot of pride, right? We're I'm very proud to say that I am liberal.
Okay.
Well, but other people might not want to announce themselves as, whatever it is that they might be.
Yeah.
So I guess we kind of both appreciate and resist them at the same time, which is what I was kind of saying before. But labels can also be beneficial in helping to self-identify, so that we might be able to relate to each other. So we can, for example, I think one of the easiest examples is on a dating website, right? So if I'm looking for somebody who's also liberal and queer, it's helpful for me to say I'm liberal and queer. And then we can say, oh, that person I think might have some of the same interests. We might be oriented in the same or similar ways, as opposed to saying, well, I am intolerant of people who are not this way. Well, that informs us in other ways. But it's really self-identifiers. So we might be able to announce ourselves in what our preferences are. And then from that, there are the next circles, right? How do we identify with each other?
Okay, well,
But that's going on.
Let's going on a little bit ahead. So labels are a way of self-identifying. So and
like
optional, right? So they can be around your gender, your sexual identity, your erotic diversity. So erotic being, you might be kinky, you might be vanilla, you might be whatever. And then relational, like we were talking about, polyamorous, non-monogamous, monogamous, any of those things. And then, like you said, they may be how we relate to others. So I am a brother, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, that sort of thing. And then they can be cultural. So Italian, Canadian, whatever you identify with. and like the reason people have labels often is that sometimes it makes it feel like you are part of a community, and that's why people like having labels.
Well, yeah, that's why I think on many profiles you might see that they might say that they're LGBTQ2IA. Did I get that right?
2S.
Allied to
Yeah.
IAS plus. We'll have to fix it in the edits. But anyway, so yeah, it makes them feel part of the community. But then at the same time, some people might be reluctant to announce certain things and say, well, I don't want to be outed. I don't want to, use these identifiers. Please don't identify me in those discussions because for whatever reason, it might feel not appropriate, not comfortable for them.
Yeah, they may. Yeah. So you have to be aware of other people's boundaries. So that's an important part is like knowing if labels are important to you and letting others around you know if they're important to you. And then do you have boundaries around this?
Interesting. As we're saying, I'm wondering, can you recall any times when you might have been mislabeled, when people thought you were something and put that label on you and you had to clarify and say, actually, no, I'm not like that. I'm like this. Because I was thinking about our friends, the ones who've been together for about 10 years. I think that they also do that quite often. They might be announced as being polyamorous and they said it straight and say, no, we're not polyamorous. We are swingers.
People often say like your husband.
Yes.
There's an assumption made that you're my husband or I'm your wife or that sort of thing. And I'm like, nope, not my husband.
So how does it feel when that happens? Does it give you a warm, fuzzy feeling or do you, like your spidey senses go up and say, whoa, no, not husband?
It's not that I wouldn't want you to be my husband. I would be very proud if you were my husband. But it's more that the assumption bothers me that because we're together and we may have the appearance at times to be heterosexual, monogamous couple, it's like the presumed default. And it's like, no, it's not my husband.
It's a monogamous world.
Yeah. Well, and a friend of mine is parking here in my parking spot, and the security guard was trying to figure out, like, is he renting from you? Is he this? Is he that? I think at one point I just said to him, like, oh, it's my boyfriend. And, but they know André. So it's like, well, you can, you can figure out whatever you want, right? I didn't know how to answer that, but I'm like, put him on the list. He put him on the list. He's my boyfriend.
But it's interesting. Like, so in their mind, is that exciting and weird and interesting? Or is like, wait a second, you should only have one boyfriend because the model I know is, 2x2 into the ark.
Yeah. Well.
But it's interesting, right? Because when that does come up, we're kind of inviting them, we're forcing them to have to entertain another thought. Well, I thought you already had a boyfriend, or what happened to the other guy? So it's like it follows their model or it doesn't. So it's quite interesting.
Okay, so a couple of we just wrote down a couple questions, other things you might consider in terms of labels and whether or not you like them. Maybe the term label is not a great label. Identifiers, yeah.
Does that make it easier? Is it the same thing with a different name, which is kind of like what labels do, right? Maybe it is kind of the same thing by a different name.
Yeah. Oh no, your phone.
Well, we'll do that later.
Okay. And so what was I going to say? I had a thought until I was distracted. Okay, labels and things like, okay, so what labels do you like other than I'm polyamorous, non-monogamous, swinger, whatever, is like we talked about girlfriend or boyfriend and what do you want to be called? Because for some people that's important. And if you call someone your partner, like I refer to you often as my partner, but then I often refer to other people as my partner as well, which maybe seems weird, but is it weird? Like, what do you think about that?
Interesting. Well, I think it's weird, but I also do something similar. I announced that I have two primary partners, and primary means first, right? So how could I have two first? It doesn't make sense. It's kind of interesting that way. So I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. So how do you want to be introduced? Do you want to say like, it's funny that we have to put a label. Like sometimes I think this is the conversation we were having, which is why we thought about this topic is like, why can't I just say this is André? Make whatever assumptions you want rather than this is my partner, André, or this is my boyfriend, or this is my mate, or this is my friend with benefits. This is my lover.
But doesn't it make us feel more secure if I know who André is? Like if we just say this is my André, it's like, well, what are you guys? Like, and where does that leave me? Like, how am I going to fit in? It's interesting because going back to the idea of the dating profiles, I see a lot of profiles that say that they're open-minded. And that's such a big vague statement, but is it really trying to say, well, I'm liberal, queer, whatever, but without having to announce it? So I'm open-minded, and that way I don't have to use these identifiers. I can just be, well, let's see how the vibe is, and we'll tease it out, as opposed to saying, well, I am this thing and that thing. And it's interesting too, because sometimes we might resist those identifiers, but sometimes we really want to pick them up and put them like a flag in the ground, a stake in the ground, and say, I am this, and it's taken me a long time to be able to get here to announce it, and I'm proud to say that's who I am in that.
Yeah, so curious to know in the comments, what labels you like to be used for yourself,
or which ones really pissed you off.
Pissed you off. I don't know. Is there ones that piss you off? What do you want? What do you like me calling you?
Just call me often.
I do call you my partner.
Yeah, you do call me your partner.
What do you call me? You call me your partner.
Often I call you my partner.
I don't usually call you my boyfriend or my girlfriend.
You can call me both.
It seems weird to call someone you my boyfriend. I don't know. It seems a little bit lighter.
Because of our advanced age, it feels weird to be.
Maybe.
Is that like for kids?
Yeah, like but then yet I call friends that are girls my girlfriends. But then now it has a different meaning because I have girls that I'm more intimate with, and then you still call them your girlfriend. Yeah, it's so interesting. Yeah. Labels. And then the other question is, does it change depending on who you're being introduced to or who you're introducing your people to? So when, like, for example, when my parents came here for my birthday, we had a mix of people. This is my 50th birthday last year, that were sort of friends, and then people that were extra special friends that we've had relationships with that are still friends and close and people we love, but sort of have a different thing. And like, how do you introduce them? I think we just introduced everybody by name and let people just like whatever. But some may not want to be identified as that. You know what I mean?
Interesting. I wonder what it had been like had you at your party had those, hello, I'm, and then you put the person's name, but then maybe like their identifiers in it. So, hi, I'm André, I'm Tara's this and that, or hi, I'm, Bernard and I'm Tara's other thing.
Bernard.
These people name
significant other. That's another one people use. Or nesting partner.
Friends with benefit. Whatever.
Yeah, friends with benefit.
There's a whole bunch.
Daddy, baby, boo. You call me your boo. That's nice. So then, yeah, does it make a difference who you're introducing them to?
And do we feel as though we have to? I think that's kind of the thing. It's like, you get to those forms and it says, your emergency contact. And it says, well, this is my husband, my wife, my whoever, friend. Like, I mean, how do you put those into, what labels do you use on those kind of forms?
Well, and there's not a lot of options for those.
No.
Either.
No, there's not.
Yeah. So labels.
So does that make you feel slighted in any way if you choose to have these other labels and they're not necessarily recognized in the mainstream? Do you ever feel as though, well, how come you're not recognizing that, or why isn't that an option as well? Should you have an other box where you can fill it in? Yeah,
sometimes there's an other, and I fill that in. But even on your taxes, it says, "Did you get married this year?" No, I did not get married. I do have a significant other though, but we're not officially common law because we don't live together all the time.
But yet we live together quite a bit of time.
Quite a bit of the time. So then at what point do you become the person that I put on my tax form? And how many people do you put on your tax form? That's the other thing. Right. What if you live with multiple partners? It's so many interesting things.
So if you're married, there's a different tax consideration. So,
yeah, you could share income or whatever.
So there's actually a benefit to it.
There is a benefit.
So it's rewarding the monogamous model. Yes. And by extension, some people might say punishing us if we're not participating in that.
Yes.
Just saying.
That's the thing. All right. So I think we kind of covered it today.
I think we kind of did, yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to learn more about the relational identities we've described here, please drop worksheet in the comments and we'll make sure that you get the link to get the worksheet. I'll also drop it in here as soon as we finish. And if you are having any challenges in navigating all this stuff, we're here for you. We can support you. We've helped lots of couples and individuals do this. We have our group program, Open Relationship and Polyamory Mastery, which takes you through, which is a 16-week program that takes you through our 7 steps of gaining mastery in your relationship, including doing things like figuring out what you want and learning how to communicate, our 2-minute communication process, and setting up agreements to make it all happen. So we make it easy. And if you're new to open relationships, or if you're struggling in your current one, then it's definitely a great program.
Truth.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Hit the like button.
Hit the like button. Yes. And yeah, and follow us also on Instagram. And we have I just started a TikTok last week on the suggestion of a friend, so we're there too under Let's Talk Polyamory. And thanks for joining us. And if you ever have topics that you want us to talk about, just let us know. And we'll see you next week at 11. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.